Hey, it's Natasha Herbert and I'm back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to properly edit a baby or toddler. So when editing children, I don't really like to overdo the retouching. Well, honestly, I don't really like to do the Play-Doh type of retouching anyway, so I like skin too much. And so I'm going to show you how to properly edit a baby. So this is the before and this is the after. Okay, so first what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy the background layer and I'm gonna call that clean, and then I'm gonna add another layer. The background has some imperfections on it, so I definitely want to come in and clean that up. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to do a soft brush and bring it down to about between 60 to 70%. When cleaning up the background, you definitely want to make sure your flow is pretty low. So mine is at 11%. And what I'm doing is I'm just going in and taking the eyedropper tool and lightly brushing over some of the areas that I feel need to be blended in a bit more. So I'm just coming in and kind of cleaning up these areas. I'm going to speed this process up because it can take some time. All right, so now that we've cleaned up the background, what I want to do is I'm going to actually zoom in on Bronx because he has some scratches on his nose. You know, babies have nails, so they scratch their noses a lot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the spot healing tool and I'm gonna clean that up really quick. Get rid of that, just get rid of some imperfections, some small imperfections he has on his face, and there we go. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the clean layer and make a new layer. I'm going to rename this blur. Then I'm going to take that again and rename it to texture. I'm going to click the texture layer off and go back to blur, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to noise, and then median. Now, you want to make sure that your median is maybe not too low, but you want to make sure that you can see a lot of the shaded colors. So 13 seems to be about right, but I think I'm going to just do 12. 12 seems to be a perfect number. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the blur layer just in case I mess up and I have something to go back to. I'm going to click the texture layer back on and I'm going to linear light, image. I'm going to go to apply image, and I'm going to go to our blur copy layer and I'm going to select invert. I'm going to do add, and our scale is going to be at 2, offset at 0. Now, if you are going to be now this is if you're using a 16-bit image, and in my case, I am using a 16-bit image. If you are using an 8-bit image, then you would want to do subtract, click the invert off, and your scale is going to be 2, and your offset is going to be 128. But in this case, we are using a 16-bit image, and I'm going to do the add as the blending. So next it's time to paint. So we're going to go back and click the texture layer off and go to our blur copy layer. And I'm going to choose the mixer brush. While using the mixer brush, you want to make sure your wet is at 2%, load is at 2%, mix is at 2%, and then the flow at about 11%. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're just basically blending the areas on the baby. So I'm just going in and I'm taking my eyedropper tool, sampling the colors, and just kind of painting in the different tones and just making sure that it's even, that it's nice and even across the skin. And I'm gonna go in on his chest. I see some uneven tones here, so I'm just kind of going in and making sure that they are blending in. Now this can take some time, so I'm going to speed this process up a little bit. I personally like this process. I don't find it looking like clay. Like I said, I'm not a Play-Doh type of photographer. If it's looking like there's no skin there, then there's that. I feel like that's a problem. So I found this technique using the frequency separation with the median blur to be one of the best ways to retouch. All right, now that we've got our colors and tones together, what I personally like to do is I actually just combine the layers in one group, and I copy it just so I can have something to go back to, and I merge the layers. Then I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to go to fill, 50% gray, click OK, and I'm going to change my blending mode to overlay. And what I'm going to do is I'm dodging and burning, so I'm just kind of lightly going in and highlighting some areas. So I make sure my exposure is about 10%, and I'm going to go in, and that's a little bit too much, but I'm going to go in and highlight the baby's highlights. Just making it more, giving it more definition. I don't want to do too much on the dodging. I definitely want to keep it light. So now I'm gonna go and shade in more of the shadows. So I'm gonna select my burn tool and go in the shaded areas of the baby. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more images of baby Bronx, head over to my Instagram and you'll see more photos of him there. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. All right, peace.